welcome to 1991 Movie Rewind, a podcast where we watch and review every movie released in 1991, from the all-time greatest classics to the critically panned and everything in between. We will rediscover forgotten fan favorites and uncover hidden gems as we explore the depths of direct-to-video. Join us in our celebration of the fun, unique, and diverse films of this highly underrated year. This week, we watched Kickboxer 2, The Road Back. Kickboxer 2, The Road Back, follows David Sloan, played by Sasha Mitchell, as he deals with the death of his brothers Kurt and Eric and the impending bankruptcy of his gym. Although he wants to stay retired, he takes an exhibition match in the newly formed United Kickboxing Association. That draws the attention of friends of Tong Po, who are eager to get rid of the last Sloan brother. Screenplay by David S. Goyer, directed by Albert Pyun, and released on June 14th, 1991. Have you seen Kickboxer 2 before?
No, not 2.
Not 2?
I've seen Kickboxer 1.
I had not seen any of them. What about 3 or 4?
No, I have not seen anything
nothing past
further
1?
Kickboxer 1.
Yeah, prepping for this movie was the first time I had ever seen Kickboxer 1. I kind of like this one better.
Really?
Yeah.
I like the first one better.
I mean, this one isn't as campy and cheesy as the first one. And maybe that's why I like it more. You don't have Jean-Claude Van Damme. Even in the flashback scenes, even in the photos of Kurt and Eric that they show at the beginning, and like the painted pictures on the gym, Jean-Claude Van Damme has been replaced by another actor.
that honestly looks nothing like him.
Yeah, they look nothing alike. Same thing with the person who quote-unquote plays Eric in this one. Nothing like him, really, except dark hair and a mustache.
Right.
So yeah, it's really weird to see that he has nothing to do with this movie at all. I think what helps it is, honestly, like, the acting is really solid all around in this movie.
Yeah, the acting was fine. I just kind of... The way that... I don't know. The way that it progressed into the last fight, I thought was weird.
Yeah. Definitely some plot holes. That's sort of to be expected, but there were problems in the first one, too. I don't know. I think the first one kind of lost me because there was just 20 minutes of training montage with nothing else.
That's my favorite part of it.
But there's nothing to break it up. It's just, I don't know, like, throw in a scene of, like, the love story developing. Throw in some other random side plot. It's just honestly, like, 20 minutes of him just training nonstop without any sort of fights or any other, like, plot progression.
That's
like,
my favorite part. Because, that just reminds me of, like Karate Kid, or I don't even know, like any
but
fighting.
Karate Kid will, like, split up the wax on, wax off parts with another scene with Johnny.
All right.
Or with Elizabeth.
Like, you want to see Tong Po doing something.
Yeah, let's see Tong Po doing something. Let's see
He's
Miley
just, like,
doing
standing
something.
in a basement kicking a fucking wall until shrapnel falls. I don't know.
Let's see Eric's progression as well. Like, let's see what the, I forget the military guy's name that leads them, whatever. But we're talking about the first one and, like, the problems with the first one. This one, I think, is better in that because, you have the training sequences. They're not as intense. It's really just him, like, doing random movements in the park.
Yeah, they're doing, like, Tai Chi, and then...
Or being pushed off the building.
Yeah.
And forced to hang onto the rope to climb back up or something. But, so they're not as intense. You don't have him doing the splits like JCVD would be. But, I don't know, at least it was segmented enough so that plot stuff happened and then plot training. And that helped me a bit.
Okay.
But in general, some of the action is, until the end, is really toned down. It seemed like they were doing everything they possibly could to avoid actually showing impact on camera. Because, you have that first sparring sequence with David and Brian, who's...
Like his best student?
Yeah, I don't know if he's a student or if he's like a partner in the gym in some form, or like like another trainer there. I don't know. Their relationship isn't really established, other than that Brian automatically has resentment towards David for holding him back, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't know. Why is it David's decision as to whether or not he goes and fights somebody? I don't know.
Because that's like his gym. I don't know, and he's a student there.
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever the case is, but. It's just to build up the future steps of things. But when they're doing that sparring, most of that early fighting, the action is like off screen. So you see like the kicks, they go above the frame. So what you're seeing is the leg going up, but you're not seeing the actual hit.
Mm-hmm.
Or if they're punching or something, the punching is happening below the visible frame. So you hear the impact through sound effects, but you don't physically see it. It's that type of stuff that happens in this one, whereas opposed to the first one, where it's a lot more evident, it's a lot more fast-paced and in your face. And in that regard, the first one is a lot better, especially, early on. Even when they get into the UKA fight with David and Neil Vargas, even that, like, there were shots where the camera was going through the crowd, and so some of the impact shots were hidden because the camera was panning along the crowd and people were like standing up and blocking the action. So it's like creative ways to avoid it, but it was noticeable.
Like they didn't want to show violence.
I think it's that they didn't want to. Yeah, they didn't want
even,
to.
But like at the end, I feel like the way that
it's just a way
Brian.
For like superheroes, you know what I mean? Like how in superhero movies, when you're having any sort of fight sequence, or really any action movie these days, where they shake the camera a whole bunch, or they just do a lot of quick cuts, or just angle the camera a certain way. It's so you don't actually have to show the the actual punches landing, but still get the effects of it. That's what they're trying to do, is just, But it does make it a little bit less effective than something like Bloodsport or Kickboxer 1, where you can actually physically see things happening.
Mm-hmm.
The only time it really gets to be better is near the end, but that's because almost everything is done in slow motion. Like in those last couple fights with like Tong Po and Brian, or Tong Po and David, those you do see virtually exclusively close-up shots of someone getting punched or kicked in the face.
Yeah.
And so, but it's all slow motion. So you see like the blood and the sweat splashing off their face, and you see the actual physical impact, but it's not done at full speed. So again, you don't get the full impact of it. So in that regard, it's a little bit lessened, in my opinion. But I think they did go a little bit overboard with like some of the blood effects that they used. But I mean, that's 90s movies in a sense.
Yeah, I think the one fight with Tong Po and Brian was like, to me, too much.
You mean like too long?
Too long. Bloody? Well, yeah, long and bloody, and then. I mean, I was just like, how come no one is stopping? Like, this guy is obviously getting the shit kicked out of him. And no one's, like, banging a bell or, like, stopping anything. I guess,
yeah.
I mean,
know. The whole third act is kind of where the plot falls apart overall. And a lot of things that don't make sense happen. So to get us to that point, basically Brian goes off on his own. He joins the UKA, the United Kickboxing Association, which David recognizes as a corrupt organization. Brian doesn't care because it's going to help him get his money. And he rises the ranks to become champion of that. He's supposed to fight this other guy, Lou Lascano, and that guy is forced to drop out by the corrupt UKA organizer,
Senga.
this guy named Senga. who's sort of like a silent partner of the main person, Justin McKaya. And we'll come back to all those guys later. And so Tong Po is brought out to fight Brian instead, which is all meant to be bait so that David will eventually fight Tong Po.
Right.
Because everyone knows that Tong Po will kill Brian except for Brian and his team. So that's basically what happens is Tong Po fights Brian. It goes really poorly for him. They try to stop the fight.
I mean,
David
eventually,
tries to stop the fight.
yeah, David tries to stop it. He's like the only person in this giant crowd, and then these authorities come and like carry him away. And I mean, but after like 50 times this guy's been punched in the face, finally the ref tries to stop it, and that's when Tong Po is like just throwing the ref out of the ring. Just like anyone that's interfering, Tong Po is like kicking their ass. But it's like, I don't know, they're not in Thailand, and this isn't Thailand rules like in the first movie. So wouldn't they implicate those rules onto Tong Po?
Yeah, that was one of the questions I wrote. It's like, why isn't he disqualified yet? Because it's not just a matter of him wailing on him.
Because he's using like elbows and knees. Like that's a rule to not use that for these fights. And
so the ref just says, illegal knee, illegal elbow, whatever.
Yeah, but wouldn't that automatically be like, okay, you're done?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Like, how many
That's
times
what
do
I
you
had
need
problems
warnings?
with. The last parts of this movie I had problems with. Because I was like... Yeah. He should have been, like, immediately thrown out. And then he should have been, like, immediately arrested because he kills Brian.
That, too. And also, so, like, the ref tries to interfere and basically says, you're done. And Tong Po picks up the ref and throws him out of the ring.
Yeah, but...
And then he continues to wail on Brian. And no one comes to stop him.
Yeah, I'm like, there's thousands of people there.
Do not stop this. Which is... very, very strange as well.
Like, not even Brian's people, like the guys in his corner are trying to help.
And I understand that they don't arrest him immediately because Brian doesn't die immediately. That happens after the fact.
Yeah.
But he is, incapacitated, sort of like Eric was at the beginning of the first one. But it does not make sense that, the intention was that, now Brian is dead. So David is going to avenge him by fighting Tong Po
but
in 2
it was like,
hours.
Yeah, 2 hours. He was like, Tong Po's ready for you in 2 hours. I was like, what the hell?
So why not
arrest Tong Po?
Why not like call the police or whatever?
Yeah.
And say, hey, this guy who just killed someone in the ring is going to be at this place in 2 hours. Come meet us there.
That's exactly what I was like. I don't like this movie all of a sudden.
Okay. See, I just sort of accepted it as action movie fluff garbage, and I was fine with it. Like, it clearly doesn't make sense.
I understood the storyline in the first movie. Because,
there virtually wasn't any. Well, there's things I didn't understand about the first one, though, too.
But Jean-Claude, I mean, his brother is just there to fight Tong Po, and he's all like, I can do it. Like, he's all overconfident in himself. And then he gets paralyzed, so then Jean-Claude is like, I need to avenge my brother.
Right.
And he does. That's the moral of that entire movie.
Sure.
This one, I was just like... What I understand, like, Tong Po is like embarrassed that he was beaten once in his life, and then he kills Jean-Claude's character and the other, like his brother Eric, which apparently he was. We show like in the beginning of the movie, Tong shoots.
It's actually like
Kurt.
midway is when we learned this. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Midway. I don't know.
Yeah, whenever Zhang comes in to train.
Oh, okay.
So, there's a lot of other stuff
there's
that
like
happens.
a flashback scene of just Tong Po coming up to quote Kurt, which is not real. It's not Jean-Claude, but it's supposed to be him. Just getting shot in the head, and then Tong Po walking off.
Yeah. Basically like in like a shipyard, sort of like Double Impact.
Yeah.
Type of a setting.
Which
is where Jean-Claude Van Damme was while this movie was being made, making Double Impact instead of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I just read on like because I was trying to see how come Jean-Claude didn't want to do this movie, and it was basically because at this point in his career he wanted to do more bigger films that were going to be released in theaters.
Yeah, he wanted
because this was going to be
this was going to be a smaller one for sure.
Small one, and then probably straight to video or cable.
I mean, it did hit.
I mean, the other ones.
Oh yeah, 3 and 4 or whatever.
But I think he's in the other ones because when I was looking at Jean-Claude's credits.
Oh, was he?
I think he's in the later ones.
Okay.
Like Kickboxer 5 and 6 or something.
So he comes back and plays himself.
I don't know if he plays himself. I mean, he can't.
Well, I mean, flashbacks.
Okay.
Or
I don't
prequels,
know.
Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know how. I mean, I didn't read how the story goes into 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know if. I mean, I know Sasha's in least the next couple movies.
He's in 3 and 4, as well as the supposedly being made Kickboxer Algiers. So depending on when you listen to this, and if that movie comes out, there is another movie that's in production called Kickboxer Algiers, with Sasha Mitchell. Albert Pyun is directing that as well. And who else is going to be in that one? I think I have someone else. Tong Po, is he going to be in there?
I mean, that guy's still alive.
Yeah. I don't have him listed as being there. Tong Po, played by Michel Kisi. I'm not sure how to pronounce the name, actually. He's not Thai. He is Moroccan. He got the part in Kickboxer 1 because they kind of needed somebody at short notice, and they just kind of put makeup on him, and, he was big and posing. He was also a friend of Jean-Claude Van Damme's at that point, and so, they just put some random makeup on him, gave him scars, and said, pretend like you're a Thai person. But he's from Morocco. He was also in Bloodsport. He was one of the fighters in Bloodsport. But he was in Kickboxer 1, 2, not 3 or 4, but he was in Kickboxer Vengeance as a cameo.
So maybe they do a flashback. Because I know Jean-Claude is in.
Yeah, what I read of
Vengeance.
the Vengeance cameo is basically he's in prison or something, and he walks, one of the Sloans or somebody walks past him, and it's like, don't you remember me, or something like that. Anyway, we're getting kind of sidetracked. Anyway, but yeah, we see that shot of Kurt getting killed, but all we're told is that Eric is also dead. He was in the wheelchair, obviously, from being paralyzed, but we don't see his death. And what I learned is that there's actually a potential alternate version of this movie where, or is this something that was cut out of the movie? The person who played Kurt actually had a scene and a fight scene with Tong Po that was cut out of the movie.
In his wheelchair?
No, Kurt. The
Jean-Claude. Oh, okay.
But the reason that it shows on IMDb as to why it was cut is that it was a better fight scene than what you got from David and Tong Po at the end.
Oh, so they didn't.
So it was a more entertaining fight scene, and so they got rid of that.
Oh, I wish I saw that. I don't know.
Something along those lines is that it was a better fight scene, and that
than the end.
But Tong Po got
finale.
defeated again, and that was the aftermath of the humiliation, was to have him get shot. So they only showed the aftermath part of it in a very quick flashback type of a scene. So, he did have a part. Emmanuel Kervin is the person who played Kurt Sloan in this. The only other credit I can find with him is that he wrote and directed the movie Rabid Grannies. So this and Rabid Grannies is the only thing that the new Kurt Sloan has done. So obviously he's not in 3 or 4 or Vengeance or whatever. What I also found interesting is that there was no love interest.
I'm fine with that.
I'm totally fine with it too.
I hate when they force that's
That's kind of one thing I didn't like about the first one.
Yeah, I didn't, because the love interest in that, I mean, it's fine, but you didn't see how their relationship formed, because at the end they're both like, I love you. I'm like, they literally see each other, spend time with each other just because he's training in her uncle's house or whatever, compound or whatever he has.
Yeah, it's
and I'm like, how are they falling in love? That's the only
we
thing
don't
I
know
didn't.
because all we see is training.
But I'd rather see training than like the forced love interests always kind of bother me.
It's
just
worse
like,
in it's
just
worse
show
in,
just
Bloodsport.
show the training.
It's worse
and the
in
fighting.
Bloodsport, though.
Right.
The thing with the reporter in Bloodsport was a lot worse.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah, I don't
interesting.
like just don't even show a love interest. Just fight and train.
But instead,
And fight
there's,
again. I don't know.
instead there's only like really 2 female characters in this movie. You have Brian's mom, who's in a couple scenes, and she's really just kind of there to
She's there because
to see the heartbreak of her son getting
dying.
demolished in the ring. Played by Annie O'Donnell. She'll be in a couple other 1991 movies as well. Another You in Hot Shots. Basically, just character actor. And a lot of her credits are just like woman or lady. So she's been in a ton of stuff, just nothing unfortunately too notable. I thought she was good in this role. What little screen time she had. The other female character is Jo, or I think they call her even Janelle at one point as well. So I think like Jo is short for Janelle somehow.
I thought it would be like Josephine.
I don't know.
But I don't know.
IMDb has the character listed as Lisa. So I
So
don't
they were
freaking
having
know.
issues with naming this character.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought maybe they wanted to change it to Lisa because the littler kid's name is Joey.
Right. Yeah, it could cause confusion.
Because I was confused. Because we didn't even get to this part where David's gym is like set on fire. And because they're like, Tong Po's people are like threatening him. They set his gym on fire and then they're coming after David.
So yeah, David has the fight with Neil Vargas.
Right. And he
kicks him, beats him up really easily.
Right.
Vargas
It was like a really
is the
quick
UKA
fight.
champ. And then David publicly criticizes the UKA immediately after the
And
fight.
he's like, I'm
in the
retiring.
ring and
Right.
says, this is like a drug organization. It's garbage. I'm retired now.
Right.
And so everyone's mad about that because they're trying to throw the whole organization in turmoil. And the whole thing with
he
like
just
Tong
needed
Po
the
kinda, like,
money
getting him.
for his gym.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm only fighting this one fight for my gym. And,
And I
these
got
guys.
what I wanted and I'm done.
Right.
And so Neil Vargas and the UKA crew come in and set the building on fire.
Right.
The thing is that the gym also houses both David, he lives there, as well as
Like at
least some of the kids in the neighborhood who don't really have a place to stay. It's
Yeah,
sort
they're
of meant to be like
kind
a
of like
shelter in a sense, as well as a training center.
right, because he does teach local kids.
Yeah, it's mostly
For
a
free.
youth-oriented gym.
Yeah, but it's kind of for free. But he's like, you gotta, like in the beginning, he's like, you gotta pay by, cleaning the bathrooms or whatever.
Right.
Like clean up around the place, and that's your payment.
Because Joey's like a 10-year-old kid.
Right.
He doesn't have money. He
Right.
probably doesn't. I mean, he doesn't have anywhere to go, right? Like that's the whole intention. So
Right.
he probably doesn't. Maybe he doesn't have parents in this movie. I don't know.
Yeah, they don't.
Or they're elsewhere, not able to take care of him in some form. And so, his payment for the training is to do chores around the building.
Right.
And he's allowed to stay there. When the fire happens, he's the only one that is present. So, I mean, there may be other people staying there, but it's really just David and Joey who are there at that particular night
Right.
that we see. David gets shot in the leg and left for dead in the fire, but he's able to get out.
But he wasn't able to
But
save
Joey was not able to get out,
Yeah.
and he dies in the fire, we learn off screen.
And that's where I got confused, because I thought it was the girl. Because they said Joe really quickly. I was like, oh, the girl or the kid?
But yeah, Joe, the girl,
Yeah.
she's also, what, like 12 maybe? 14 at the most?
I don't know. It's like she recruits kids for
she finds
him.
these kids in the neighborhood, and she's also his corner man when he's
But
doing
she's like
his
a
exhibition
14-year-old kid, and what is he, like 30?
Yeah, something like that.
I just thought it was like a weird thing.
It was weird, and it wasn't explained as to how she came in that position. It wasn't explained as to like how much she knows, but I mean, she presents herself as a knowledgeable trainer type of a person.
Right.
It's just
It was,
a weird choice to have
weird.
that be a kid. And it also doesn't really go anywhere. She's just sort of there and present to be a person to bounce off of, rather than, you know, the typical grizzled business partner. You have like this 12-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Instead. That's really all it was.
But it's like she brings all these kids from the streets, I guess, to his gym.
Yeah, and they're all like, "Oh, you don't look so tough."
Yeah, and it's always, I mean, even in like the beginning scene, she brings, you know, Brian Austin Green.
Yeah, Brian Austin
That's
Green.
his only scene.
Is Tommy, basically saying, "You don't look like a champion," which is true. Sasha Mitchell does not look like your typical fighting
tough
champion.
guy. I don't know.
I mean, there are several fighters who are on this cast list. You know, actual kickboxing champions. And
Yeah, he's no Tong
he does not
Po
look
where he's like
that.
super swole or anything.
Right. Although Sasha Mitchell actually was in real life an amateur
Yeah, he
kickboxing
was like
champion and a black belt in Taekwondo. But he does kind of have a baby face. So, yeah, like Tommy, Joe is basically saying, do the rock in the river bit, basically, which is...
like a blindfolded...
It's a blindfolded thing, and then, you know, he gets blindfolded and tells Tommy to take your best shot, and he's able to anticipate all of his moves.
Right.
And I think the rock in the river thing is also... I think they're kind of mixing the things, because when he's talking to Brian about the sparring, he's saying he's trying to throw a rock in my river, he's trying to throw a rock in my pond, which is really just another way to say he's trying to get under my skin. He's trying to cause ripples and you know, aggravate me. So don't let that happen to you if your opponent is trying to do that to you. So, but then he lets that happen with Tong Po later. So yeah, Joe is really just scouring the neighborhood for these kids to bring in and pay, probably.
Right, but it seems like he does it for free because it's
like,
all these kids from the streets.
Probably mostly. But yeah, when she brings in Joey, she's literally dragging him by the collar.
Well, maybe because
to David, which is
she's
really
kind
weird.
of like, hey, you're
it's like, you are going to train.
Right,
this
you're a little
tough
asshole kid. Maybe like
put you into place, yeah.
David will like shape you up into being a better person or something.
Yeah, and Joey's a good character too, because he's, you know, a smart ass little runt with a big mouth and exaggerations. So I mean, he has just a couple scenes, but they're good. We'll see that guy again. Humberto Ortiz played Joey. He'll be in the 1991 movie Doll Man. But yeah, he's been in some other stuff like Arcade and Three Amigos. He has a role in Three Amigos. He was also in the TV show Where on Earth is Carmen Sandiego, the animated.
Oh, the animated one?
Yeah. And also a show called Marblehead Manor for like a season, which I've never heard of. But Joey's dead. David was shot. They're kind of like generic names, so I kind of get them.
Right.
David was shot in the leg, and so he wakes up, you know, beaten and shot in the hospital. And
they play the sad music.
Oh man, the music in this movie. There's only 3 songs,
but they're very
they are very 80s ballad.
Like
hair battle.
Like
hair metal ballad.
Like typical rock ballads by people I've never heard of.
They sound outdated for a 1991 movie.
Right, because I think they're just trying to be... Like, I think everyone's always trying to do that you're the best around song, which no one could do, but it's like...
But all of them are like slow, sad ones, right? Like the beginning one, he's like moping because his brothers are dead.
Yeah, because it's about his brothers dying. I know, I wrote, suns will set, suns will rise, my brother's eyes. Like, what does that mean?
And then what was the other one when he like...
To hurt, to cry, a man alone.
Cold like ice around the heart. Yeah.
I don't know. It's so bad, but I like it.
Oh yeah, it's fun cheesiness, but it's not upbeat. He wakes up in the hospital, and David's business manager is Jack. Jack, the business manager, the one who's basically saying, "You're out of money, man. Like, do this."
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that guy just like
He's
comes
there to
and
manage
goes.
the business. Yeah, he's
Yeah, but
there
he
to
just
like
like
work on the
comes and
books.
goes.
He does come and go. He's there to like sort of root him on in that one random shot.
he just come. Yeah, the only time he was helpful was at the very end.
Yeah.
All right.
So I mean, he's there to provide context.
Yeah.
But Jack also is there to bring Jan back from Thailand or to
train him. But why?
Why
does he need to be trained?
I don't know.
This is why I like the first movie better than this one. Because I'm like, why did you bring Zhang from Thailand to LA?
And Jan was like so.
It's like he's not anticipating and fighting
and train him, even though David's like outright refusing. He's like,
yeah.
I don't want to do this.
That's why I'm like,
and
why?
Zhang is so like pushy about it too. He's like a total
it's like, no,
asshole.
You're gonna train,
It's
and
like,
then
if you
he
wanna
literally
fucking make me leave, then fucking make me.
Yeah, and then he's making him get on his like broken ass leg,
yeah,
and like walk after like one day of being in bed.
Mind over matter. That's the moral of a lot of these stories. So yeah, that didn't make a whole lot of sense. Other than what we kind of learn at the end is that Zhang was also manipulated by Sangha. All I know is that he said, when they were sitting in that diner, while they're waiting for the 2 hours to pass, he was talking about how he was manipulated as well, and maybe he had some revenge motivation as well because he knew that Tong Po was going to be coming over.
Well,
here.
And then I think
the Sloan is the only one who could possibly beat him.
Yeah.
So,
and then later on, he says that Tong Po murdered his niece.
Yeah,
and
Miley's also apparently dead.
Yeah, everyone's dead that's like been involved with these Sloan brothers. Except for Zhang. Like, how come Tong Po didn't threaten him?
I don't know.
And then what happened to his dog Kiki? That was
we don't know what happened.
also
Kiki did not make the trip to LA. I will say that they made Jean's hair less gray in this movie than they did in the first one. They put a lot of artificial graying in Kickboxer 1, and they
I think it's just
here.
he was trying to be like they're trying to do another Misty Miyagi.
Oh yeah. But they just went overboard with the hair and makeup.
Right.
And they toned it down here again. But he's there, and
he's like there for like somewhat comic relief.
He's definitely there to be more jokey. This is again,
he's
sort
like
of like
cracking
Mr. Miyagi
jokes about
sense,
like going to Disneyland and whatever,
and talking about the beautiful women on the beach and whatnot.
Yeah.
And a lot of quips in his little stories and everything that he does. He's not a bad character, but he does seem derivative of Miyagi. But he did in the first one too, so he's just sort of carrying over that type of mentality. So I mean, at some point David, I guess, acquiesces and says, "Sure, you're going to train me." I don't think he ever intends to fight anybody, but at least get him back into shape.
Yeah, I guess just to be in shape. Because he's not training for a fight because he doesn't want to fight.
No. But
that's why I was like, why are they doing these like so-called training fight scenes? Just for the movie's sake, I guess.
Yeah, get him back into shape so he can do whatever. I don't know.
Oh, or just go back to teaching at teaching kickboxing at a gym somewhere.
Probably. So, I don't know. Doctors can also help you out with that stuff.
Right. Like, he needs to heal first.
You'd think so. But yeah, everyone gets into it. They train in the park, and so, like, all the homeless people in the park also, like, are starting to train.
Right.
I thought that might become a thing at some point. It did not.
But no.
Meanwhile, Brian is training in his evil person gym. Right, where everyone is wearing black, the lighting is very moody and dark.
Everyone is
ominous.
Like, and then they're shooting him with steroids, I'm assuming.
Yeah, they're shooting him up with steroids. And he's like, Jesus, what a rush!
I know, that was so stupid. Yeah, they're just
And
kind
he's
of
just
like
completely over. He's being
like
completely
24.
overworked.
He's like 24/7, just like either doing like some sort of arm workout or leg workout
Yeah.
on these machines.
And they give him the steroids,
And
he's
they're like,
supposed to like fight within a
keep
couple
doing
hours
it.
after taking
Those
the
are
steroids.
that's his training. Is like
Just some dude
someone's
yelling at him.
yeah, just getting yelled at, saying keep going, and then here's more steroids, keep going.
So it's up to you as to which one is a better path: getting overworked and overburdened by a trainer who's pushing you with steroids, or being like kicked and punched and pushed off a building by somebody who doesn't care that you have a leg that was just
Like
shot.
like a shattered bone,
Yeah.
probably that
Like
needs
kicks
to
your
heal.
crutches out from underneath you and says, "Get the fuck up."
Yeah.
Right? We haven't even really talked about. We talked about Sangha, but we haven't talked about Makaya, who is the other person involved in this. He's the public face of the UKA. Justin Makaya, played by Peter Boyle, in this. Again, good acting all around. He's good at being a subdued villain.
Yeah.
He's definitely and we learned this near the end as well, that he's really more the financial type of a villain. He doesn't really want to try to actively harm people,
Yeah, 'cause
just for the sake of harming
when
them or for revenge.
Brian's getting the shit kicked out of him.
Although he may have been
He's
behind
like
the arson at the gym,
yeah,
but we don't fully know that for sure.
but
That could have been Sangha.
he's like surprised and doesn't want to be involved with Sangha anymore after like Tong Po kicking Brian's ass.
Yeah, he knew nothing about the Tong Po switcheroo that was pulled at the last minute. He didn't agree to it, except for Sangha says, make the ref do this announcement that is against the UKA regulations. You know, you're not supposed to like switch fighters the last second, whatever. It's against protocol or whatever. Do this or I'm pulling your funding. And so he's like, okay, make the announcement. I have to keep my money. But he's horrified about the whole thing at the end. But I don't think he ever actually actively does anything about it. Like, he's not helping turn the tables when the guns come out or anything. So
No.
yeah, he's just, that's just meant to give
He's
him
not,
a little bit of a character.
He just wants
of,
money.
Oh,
he's like,
oops, I was duped too.
Right. Oh, they're getting violent. I wasn't a part of this.
Yeah. So he's there to really convince Brian to join the UKA, which is a pretty easy thing to do, since Brian wasn't very happy at the no money gym that he was at before. And then he becomes a puppet for Sangha. Sangha also recruits some random thug guy, which I don't know what the heck his point was in the whole movie. The one who's basically like tailing David around.
The Thai
thug.
The Thai thug, yeah.
That's his character name. He's, in a suit. He's like in the car. He's like following him around. He's just there at certain scenes. But
as,
what does he
extra
actually...
muscle?
Yeah. What does he actually do?
It wasn't he one of the dudes that wants to carry David out of the ring when he's trying to save Brian? Was that him?
I don't know. That might have just been security people.
Oh, okay.
But I think he does pull a gun at the end along with Sangha.
I can't remember.
I don't remember anymore. But, I mean, it made it sound like he was supposed to be there to help convince David to fight Tong Po. But he doesn't ever actually interact with him. He doesn't ever have any dialogue. He's just sort of there to be an imposing figure in certain scenes. And it's weird that they introduce him and spend so much time with somebody who doesn't do anything. So there are a lot of. It's not a perfect movie. It's definitely not a perfect movie. I will say that, I don't know. Again, the fighting, I think that the first one had some impact, but it still kind of looked cartoony at times, because you have people who were doing the rapid punching bag type of effects where they're punching them 30, 40 times in a row on a face or stomach, and they're just sort of sitting there taking it. That was cartoony. This one, just the action kind of looked fake and anemic at most times until the end, when it really got to be kind of violent and brutal. But yeah, it doesn't make sense that they did not try to arrest Tong Po or bring the cops in, because it was just at that same arena.
Yeah,
that they
and
were at
then
before,
it's like,
and now they're just doing the Muay Thai thing where they did in the first one, where they
the ancient
wrap
way.
their fists in bandages and then resin and then broken glass, and then so expect a lot of blood in that last fight there too. And then they set up, say, we're going to videotape this for people back home.
I had
so
problems with this whole thing.
Look, Tong Po has gotten his revenge. He's regained his prestige.
Yeah, because these American men came to Thailand and beat him once.
The Sloan brother is down.
Right.
It is a little weird that Tong Po really wants this vengeance against a Sloan brother that we didn't know existed in the first movie. They never mentioned him in the first place. Never had a fight against him. And Tong Po got his revenge by shooting the brothers dead, apparently.
Yeah,
right? So
but
like,
then
if he really wanted it in the ring, then he should have
How did he
shot
know
them.
that David exists? Like, from Senga saying, hey, there's a third brother.
Probably.
You gotta come kick his ass too.
Yeah, probably.
It's so stupid. I don't know.
It is a little weird that they try so hard to directly tie the two movies together in this way. What's also really weird is that, okay, so Tong Po is kicking the shit out of David to start, because that's how it always has to go. And so he's really bloody, his eyes like swollen shut at a certain point, he has blurry vision. And I thought it was an interesting, if not somewhat predictable effect, that when he couldn't really see Tong Po anymore, he was, the camera's out of focus, we're seeing it from his point of view.
Right.
But you're starting to hear like tiger noises, like lion noises instead
That's
of
what I was like,
stuff.
was Tong making those noises? Because it literally sounds like an animal.
I think it's just meant to be, just
like when in the first movie they showed the hawk or whatever. Whenever,
so stupid.
whenever Jean-Claude did
was so
something, there was like a
comical.
hawk turning its head. And
Right.
like, I don't know. I thought that was funny though.
It's funny, but
And
it's like dumb.
So the tiger noises when Tong Po does like a hit, it was like roar. I was like, is he making that roar sound?
Not physically, no. It's just meant to be that, this guy's a beast.
Yeah.
So we bring back the blind stuff from the beginning of the movie, where he's basically closes
like
his
tying
eyes
it
and he's
back.
like, give me your best shot, and like my other senses are now heightened because I close my eyes, as if that's a real thing.
I was thinking, like, why didn't he do that in the first place? Because that's been his thing all along.
Because
like he forgot.
Try it legit, and if it doesn't work,
Oh.
But either way, what I don't understand fully is that when David is like down on the ground and like really at his worst, why is Tong Po just letting him get up and like this is supposed to be a fight that literally has no rules. They've said it has no rules. But when he was fighting Brian, he was like throwing refs out of the ring and he was just wailing on this guy who was down on the ground trying to get up. But now in this fight with no rules against the person
he's
you're
like
trying
taunting.
to get revenge,
He's Tong.
it's like, oh, I knocked him down, I better back up.
Yeah, Tong is like taunting him. He's like, you're worse than your two brothers.
But he still could have been
And,
saying
like,
that while pummeling him further.
Like getting in his head because he starts saying like you're the worst fighter.
Yeah, but why not say that while actively punching and
I-
kicking him
I'm
while he's on the ground?
In agreement with you, but I don't know
if
why.
the intention is really just to kill David, which I think it is, why not just go for it?
Like he did with
But
Brian.
he doesn't. Yeah, exactly, like he did with Brian in the match with rules. So David's able to get up and, of course, get his, shit together and beat up
but
Tong Po. And
Tong Po is like hesitating while David is like going through his head like, oh, I could do this blindfold thing. So then that's when David kind of puts his face in front of Tong's face and he's like, go ahead, take your shot. And that's when he starts, maneuvering around with his eyes closed.
Right.
And then kicking his
he's
ass.
able to get back up. I'm just saying, if this was legitimate in a match with no rules, it never would have gotten to that spot. David.
Yeah, because, Tong would have just continuously been hitting him.
Definitely. So, David wins. Even though Tong Po really doesn't look all that bad. compared to David. He just happens to get sort of like knocked out a little bit. But David wins, and then people draw guns, and they have to use their kickboxing knowledge to get the guns out of their hands, whatever. Like Sanga like jumps up in the ring and has a gun, and David kicks it out of his hand, and Jack, the business manager, takes it from the thug, I think.
Yeah.
Like they kind of coordinate their efforts and do it at the same time. Maybe Zhang does something as well. I kind of don't remember anymore. It's all very fast. And then Sanga gets a few kicks and punches to his body as well from David afterwards. And then all's good in the world. End of movie.
Well, no, because after that fight, David is trying to teach Zahn how to drive a car.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You forgot that?
Yeah, I did. And then
I mean,
like,
I didn't.
Basically, like, crash into the gym.
Yeah, and he's like, I mean, this is in the middle of LA and there's no other traffic around, and he's like obviously going over lines and crossing lanes all crazily. Yeah, Zahn drives his car into like the gym. Like
Almost.
The gym is like
there's like a bunch of trash cans in front of the gym.
But like the gym is all still like
oh,
burnt
did I miss
down.
the curb or something?
Right.
Yeah,
Oh,
the gym's
and then,
still boarded up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm like, why are they going there? Because then all the neighborhood kids are all around the gym, and then they all get ice cream in the end.
Yeah. I think the intention is that they're going to rebuild the gym, but they don't say how or with what money.
Right. Like, did they get
money from this off the books fight?
Yeah, I was like, what money does he have now?
I'll be honest, this movie made me more interested in watching Kickboxer 3. I would continue this series.
I'll just read the Wikipedia plot for the next few,
right.
And that's how I'll get my information.
No, I gotta see that hard hit in action.
All right.
Cast and crew that we haven't talked about really quickly here. Albert Pyun, Saturn nominated for The Sword and the Sorcerer. That was his first feature. He was nominated for the writing of that, but he also directed it. That launched his career. He was able to do other things like Radioactive Dreams, both the Nemesis and the Cyborg series of movies. So we worked with Jean-Claude on Cyborg. He did the Captain America movie that was made in 1990 that I don't think anybody remembers was a thing, but it is, based off of the Marvel property with Steve Rogers and Red Skull. He also directed Kickboxer 4, did not direct 3. And as I mentioned, he was going to be doing the Kickboxer Algiers movie that is coming up. In 1991, he also did Blood Match and Doll Man. So you're going to see a lot of people on this cast list who are going to be in some of those same movies. He tends to work with the same people. David S. Goyer, Saturn nominee for Dark City, win for Batman Begins, Fangoria Chainsaw Award winner for DC, which I'm not... Oh, Dark City. Sorry, I abbreviated my notes. Winner for Dark City and nominated for Blade 2. He also has a Razzie Razzie win. He's a Razzie winner for Batman vs Superman. So he's all up in the DC world. He's he wrote the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy, and he does a lot of other current DC stuff. He's also worked on things like the Constantine TV series. He's done the new Godzilla movie, the 2009 version of The Unborn. He did Terminator Dark Fate, the Foundation TV series that just came out, and the Sandman TV series is coming out very soon as well, are all him. This was his second script overall. The first one was Death Warrant, which was another Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. Sasha Mitchell as David Sloan, best known to us for Step by Step, Cody Lambert, which he was on for between 1991 and 1998. He was also in Dallas from 89 to 91. He was in Kickboxer 2, 3, 4, and Algiers. He got one of his big breakout roles was Spike of Bensonhurst, where he played a boxing champion. And as we mentioned, he was a fighter as well before this. So yeah, he was out of acting for quite a while, and now he's back into it. Peter Boyle is Justin Micaiah. He is an Emmy winner, but not for Everybody Loves Raymond. It's for an X-Files guest spot. He did not win any Emmys for... He was nominated 7 times for Everybody Loves Raymond, but he was the only major cast member to not win an Emmy for that show. He was nominated for Tail Gunner Joe in 1977, for Midnight Caller in 1988. He's also in such movies as The Candidate, Joe, Young Frankenstein, of course, and Taxi Driver, Red Heat, Monsters Ball, and then he also played Father Time in Santa Claus movies. Dennis Chan we've seen before. Fight Back to School, he played Mr. Chang. He's also in a couple other movies. In 1991, Bamboo in Winter, Queen of the Underworld, and The Perfect Match, which is not on our list. None of those are on our list. So if any of them become watchable, then we can add them in. He does appear in Kickboxer 3 as well, but he does a lot of movies in Hong Kong, like God of Gamblers, Police Story 2, Casino Tycoon 2, Mermaid Got Married, to name a few. Cary-Hiroyuki Tagawa played Sangha. Probably best known to us as Shang Tsung from Mortal Kombat. He also had a recurring role in the Man in the High Castle TV series, and we'll see him a couple other times. He's in 4 more 1991 movies. I won't list them all here. As I mentioned, quite a few of these people are former fighters as well. John Deal, who played Jack, the business manager, was one of them. He was a boxer for a very short time. He went like 6-1 before he retired in 1986. He's going to be in several other 1991 movies as well, but he's probably best known for his role in Miami Vice. Heather McComb as Joe, Janelle, Lisa, whatever you want to call her. She was a young artist nominated actor for Stay Tuned, which I wish was a 1991 movie, but it's 1992. She was on the Outsiders TV show. She was also in Beethoven's Second. Had roles on the TV shows Profiler and Party of Five. Brian Wagner.
She was also married to James Vanderbeek.
She was, the first wife of James Vanderbeek. Brian Wagner, played by Vince Murdocco. He was also a kickboxing cruiserweight champion. That's probably why he got the role. He started off...
Yeah, I mean, he looks more like Jean-Claude Van Damme than the guy that they used to play Kurt.
And he might have a slight accent.
That's what I was like. He could have been the Jean-Claude role. I know that they wanted to use him for a bigger role like Brian, but he could have easily been the Jean-Claude replacement.
Oh yeah, for sure he could have. But Sasha Mitchell is a better actor overall. He got his start as Flesh Gordon in Flesh Gordon Meets the Cosmic Cheerleaders, the soft porn parody of Flash Gordon. He's also going to be in the 1991 movie Ring of Fire, and he was also in that sequel. Otherwise, he's been in like direct-to-video type of stuff like Night Hunter, Sworn to Justice, things like that is what he thrives in. A couple more people. We got Matthias Hughes, who played Neil Vargas, the first major fight in this movie. He's going to be in the 1991 movies Star Trek VI and Diplomatic Immunity. He was also in a bunch of other direct-to-video type stuff like Digital Man, Cyber Vengeance, Lone Tiger, Talons of the Eagle. And of course, he's also a former kickboxer, a black belt in Taekwondo, and he also owned gyms in Germany before moving to America for an acting career. And then we also have Brian Austin Green as Tommy. We all know him, 90210. Fantastic Four TV series, which is odd to see. And he's also a 3-time nominee for the Young Artist Award for a bunch of other stuff, 90210, and then also the Adventures in Babysitting TV pilot. He was nominated for that, even though it never got picked up or probably shown anywhere. No awards. What a surprise. So we can go ahead and move on to true crime and pop culture.
Yeah, so I looked up a blog because I wanted to know, did ancient Muay Thai fighters cover their gloves with broken glass? Like, was that
ancient style real?
Was that the ancient style real?
Yeah.
It wasn't.
I'm not surprised.
Well, because I was like, did they really kill each other or fight each other with glass on the gloves, because I was like, that's insane. But I don't know, they could have done that, like, you know, in the 15th century. I have no idea.
Sure.
But so I found this, like,
Yeah, if gladiator arenas were real, then maybe.
yeah, I found this, like, Muay Thai blog, and it was someone who asked the question, did this ancient way actually exist? And this guy, which I'll give you the...
We'll have the link on the website.
Yeah, I'll give you the link. And then it also shows pictures. So he said that the old-time fighters' gloves were made of soft, raw hemp, which were bound into special ways to create knots. And the way in which the fists and the arms were covered, they differed in each region. So the northeast style, your gloves were bound from your fists all the way to your elbows. And the north central style is your gloves were bound from your fist to your mid-arm. And then the southern style is just the fist only.
Okay.
And then I'll show you the pictures, because the pictures show, like, they knot them in different ways, and then they stick their knotted hands into, like, water and let that dry.
Okay. So it becomes
a sharp. Yeah, so when the fighter, so it feels as if you're getting cut. Okay. So maybe that's how the glass thing just got, you know, overemphasized in these movies.
Yeah.
So that's how the ancient... I mean, I don't know if they still do it now. This is like a blog that I read from 2006. But it just said, yeah, the fighters' hemp gloves were considered an important asset, and it also contained the blood and skin of their opponents. And upon finishing, they would just take the hemp off and store them in, like, a clean, dry place, and then use that same hemp for their next fight. So I had, like, the dried blood and stuff from their previous fights.
Gotcha.
And then moving on, Sasha Mitchell's legal issues, his allegations.
Crimes, yeah.
And this is going to be like a trigger warning for domestic violence. Like a couple articles, and I don't know, like, how it began, but I mean, this is from the LA Times, and then also the Buffalo News, like Buffalo, New York. This happened between 95 and 96. And then this also, like, okay, this also, I mean, I remember this because I used to watch Step by Step.
Yeah.
Growing up. And so, like, I remember sort of seeing this in the news, and I was like, no, Cody's a bad guy.
Yeah, me too.
And I was like, I don't like Cody anymore.
I remember having those exact type of feelings, absolutely.
And then he was eventually written off the show because of this.
Yeah, he was fired from Step by Step, but not for the legal accusations, for breaking probation is the official reason.
Yeah, that's what are in these two articles. But he did make, like, a guest spot. I don't think I watched Step by Step all the way to the end, but I guess he made, like, one guest spot in the very last season for something. I think so,
because he's listed as being part of a 1998 episode. So,
yeah. Okay, so this is an article from the LA Times. This is in 1995. So Sasha Mitchell, who's a Westlake actor and kickboxer, stars in the television sitcom Step by Step, pled guilty by assaulting his wife and endangering his young stepdaughter. He was charged with 3 misdemeanor counts since late April of 95. This is in June, and I guess this is when his trial started. He was arrested April 21st at his home after the sheriff's department received a 911 call from his mother-in-law, who said he was assaulting his wife, Jeanette Mitchell. And prosecutors say that Jeanette was sitting on the couple's bed with her 7-year-old daughter when her husband slapped and kicked her. The woman fled to a bathroom and locked the door, but Mitchell kicked a hole in the door and came after her. This is from the prosecutor. He whacked her upside the head, kicked her in the hip, and put a hole in their bathroom door. Prosecutors charged Mitchell with 2 counts of battery, 1 count of spousal abuse, and 1 count of child endangerment. And it says that he could face as much as a year in jail if convicted of these misdemeanor charges. Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, I don't know. Misdemeanor?
Seems low.
Yeah, seems low for all that. After his arrest, Mitchell was booked in the Ventura County Jail, but released immediately on bail. His wife was badly bruised, but did not seek medical treatment, and that was used in the trial. Because she did not get medical treatment, like Sasha Mitchell did not go to jail at that time.
Okay.
So then the next article from the Buffalo News, this is in 96. The judge ordered Mitchell in September. He was given 3 years probation and ordered to perform community service and attend counseling classes for spouse abusers. He spent 30 days in jail after failing to comply, but he was allowed to leave during the day to go work on Step by Step. But, like, this was during the time where, I guess, the TV show was finished production for the season, so he had to spend more time in jail, but he didn't go. And then I also saw, like, I don't know, this was later on in the year. I saw like a small little blurb, like in the early 2000s, saying that he later states in his court, like during his domestic violence charges resulting from the attempts at protecting his children from their physically abusive mother, whom he accused of being a drug user. Sasha states that he was able to obtain full custody of their 4 children, and their mother only receives limited supervised visitation 5 times a year.
I saw that too. Yeah.
And then that was it. That's all the information I saw. I mean, his kids are like 25 or whatever now. But.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, from what I saw is he claimed that the reason it happened was that he was merely intervening when the mom was trying to do things to the kids. Do things
to the kids. But it sounds as if he was endangering the kids too.
I don't know. I don't know the full story.
Right. It's just...
but yeah,
it's a little weird.
Yeah, I mean, if he has full custody of the kids and the ex-wife isn't allowed to visit without supervision, then that says something at least, right?
Yeah. So then I'm just going to move on to music. Like, the TV for this time, June 14th, was, it was summertime, so there was...
A lot of reruns.
There wasn't anything good on, I guess. It was reruns. And there was nothing that I saw, like, that really famous happened in the news on this day. Nothing historical.
Okay.
The only thing that I found that was considered historical was that Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves opened this same day, so obviously it was number 1 in the box office.
This is number 166 on our list. It got like 444,000 opening weekend. So.
Everyone was seeing Robin Hood, and then obviously I'm gonna talk about the bottom songs, because obviously we're gonna start seeing Everything I Do It For You. Number 100 is the song "Feel the Groove" by Cartouche, which I'm gonna give you these.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you these videos, or the links to put on our website. Number 99 is New Jack Hustler Nino's theme from New Jack City by Ice-T.
Huh, okay.
That was 8 weeks on the charts. So, I mean, yeah, that movie came out in April, so it had 2 months of being on the charts, I guess. Yeah. It was at number 86 before. Number 98 was Aisha by Another Bad Creation. And number 97, I didn't look this video up. I usually do. I don't know. I feel like I always say that. I don't. Love Gets Rough by Troy Newman. This is the first time it's on the charts. We'll have the video. And then
is its chart debut?
It's its chart debut.
And it also might be the highest it's ever charted.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Number 96, this group is, I mean, I already spoke to you about this group, is like everything to me. It's The Party's Summer Vacation. At number 96, that was its first date. That's the debut on the charts at number 96.
The Party, that was a Disney Channel.
It's a Disney Channel created group from the early
boy group.
Yeah, boys and girls from the early day. Well, the new Disney Channel, and then that was like
back when it's still a paid channel.
Right, and I had the Disney Channel somehow. I don't even know. Like, for some reason, I guess we had all the cable stations. And yeah, I was obsessed with the Disney Channel and obsessed with the Mickey Mouse Club and, of course, obsessed with The Party. And still is obsessed with The Party. Because then they just did like a 30th anniversary tour like maybe 6 months ago in, I think it was in Boston or something.
Okay.
And I didn't know about it until like a month ago. And I wish I went. Yeah. And then also one of the group members, Tiffany, she recently died earlier this year. And she was like 43 or 44. I mean, these are all, at this time, they were like 15, 16, 17 in this group.
Yeah, barely older than us.
Right. But yeah, The Party, Summer Vacation.
Well, that's good. They get to make their podcast debut with us here.
Yes. I was excited to see that.
The rankings and ratings. On your 1 to 5 star scale, where would you put Kickboxer 2, The Road Back?
I'm going to give this a 2.
2 is fair. 2 is fair. Yeah, I mean, I like this one slightly better than Kickboxer 1. And honestly, I do think it's mostly because of the acting. Jean-Claude Van Damme is like a nice, goofy person, and like, you know, you have the dance scene and whatever from the first movie.
That's all fun and
it's all like wacky,
good.
Goofy fun. This takes itself a little bit more seriously, and I thought, I don't know, Sasha Mitchell's performance is, you know, more nuanced, and he carried the movie pretty well. I'm giving it a 2.5. Okay. 2.5 stars on my 0 to 4 star scale. Every movie is worth watching once. Would you watch this again?
Probably not, no. I'll watch the first one, and only that. I don't know if I want to progress into any of the other ones.
I would watch them both again. Yeah, it's just simple, mindless action movies. I understand the appeal. I understand the appeal of the genre. I think they're both worth a viewing, and you know, there's nothing that's that aggravating plot wise that would turn me off from watching it again. So, you know, yes, I would. And if you out there want to watch Kickboxer 2 The Road Back as of this recording in February 2022, it's available on Tubi, Vudu, Plex, Roku channel, digital rental, VHS, DVD. As always, check your local listings. You can listen to us on all of your major podcasting platforms. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe, and tell your friends. You can email us at 1991movierewind@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Letterboxd. Just search 1991 Movie Rewind, or go to 1991movierewind.com for the full list of movies, along with show notes and more. You'll get to see all the other kickboxing movies that we have not yet covered that will be on the podcast at some point.
Yeah,
There's
we
like
can do
5 more.
A whole month of kickboxing movies.
There are 5 more kickboxing movies to cover. Next week, however, we will be watching La Belle Noiseuse, The Beautiful Troublemaker. I hope I pronounced that right. It's available on Canopy, Tubi, digital rental, VHS, or DVD. We will see you then.